Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week and what promises to be another very busy week here on Colombo Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo, and today my co-host once again is Susie Moore from Red State. Great to see you.
Great to be here.
How are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was a little relaxing compared to the past couple.
And you went to the pool.
I went to the pool
without breaking news.
Correct.
So if you've been following along the last couple of weeks, every time there's a weekend that Susie tries to go to the pool, there's national massive emergency
breaking news. Right? Yeah.
So good for you for
so
being able to enjoy a day at the pool.
I did that. I did a movie where
Without
I
the world
completely
crumbling.
unplugged for 3 hours. Like, it was nice.
That's fantastic. I went to a concert. I went to the Luke Bryan show last night, and I want to talk about that a little bit later. I haven't been to a big, starting in music radio and, being on The Point and other music radio stations for so long at the beginning of my career. I've been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of concerts, love live music, still love to go see live music, but haven't been to a big old massive honking superstar show like that in a while. And, I definitely have some thoughts that I'll get into later on, but there's a lot going on as we kick off the day today. We have got an update and more new information coming out of the law enforcement response to the assassination attempt. It seems like every day there's more news coming out, and it just gets more and more frustrating and worse, and just so, there's not questions being answered. There's more questions
being raised.
Exactly. So I want to get into that. Also, I want to talk about Elon Musk making some news. I want to talk about the Olympics. So we got a lot to get into as we go through the afternoon today. We're also going to talk to our buddy Mike McCleary, our AI expert from Intervine. He's going to join us in a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock. And also Virginia Kruder from the Daily Wire will be with us in about 10 minutes, and look forward to continuing the conversation with her as well. I want to start with the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Are you an Olympics person? Do you get into this stuff?
General. I mean, I'm not. I like watching it, but I don't go out of my way. Like, it's not like it's must-see TV, and I've got to park myself in front of the TV when it's on.
That's a great way to put it, because I don't watch any TV, which is why watching the Olympics, specifically on Friday during the opening ceremony, was such a shock to me.
Right, that was kind of a double shock.
I'm not used to network television and what network TV executives think is entertainment,
right?
Or what they think people want to see. So I'm constantly looking at my wife and my daughter, going, "Is this normal? Is this how they always talk to people? Is this what they think is good? Do people like this?" I was just in absolute shock. But I do like the Olympics I like to watch the competitions.
Sure.
And so if I am at home and I have some downtime where I would normally maybe put on a podcast or do something else, I'll check in with the Olympics, right, and I'll see what's going on. But did you see the opening ceremony at all?
Yeah, I saw most of it. We ended up just, watching it just because we were kind of tired and didn't want to, do anything else. And so, yeah, I saw most of it, and I had already heard that there was a lot, because obviously we were watching it on a delay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I'd already heard that there was, some furor over what all was going on. And so I kind of watched it with an eye towards, okay, I get it. A lot of it was just weird.
That's it. It was just weird.
Right.
It was, I don't know who that's for. I don't know who that's for.
The French.
I don't know what they're doing. I guess. I don't know. I don't know what is going on. There was all kinds of like, there was claims of like it being demonic and, all these different things. I just think it was weird and not for me. And I don't know who it's for. I don't know who they think is enjoying that. But I did think the light show on the Eiffel Tower was cool.
Yeah, the light show was great,
That
and
was
the
cool.
lighting of the torch actually was cool, and the parade of boats down the Seine actually was very cool.
Except it was pouring down rain.
Yeah, aside from that, but I mean, the look of it actually was very cool. The
Sure.
other stuff, the extraneous stuff, yeah, I don't know who the target demo is there. I mean, I think weird is the buzzword of the week for in a lot of different respects. I do think that there was an intention to push the envelope and push people's comfort zones in the name of art and avant-garde, and maybe like, thumbing a nose at people that are of more conservative and Christian sensibilities. But yeah, I mean, I I understand the offense that was taken
Yeah.
completely,
Yeah.
and I don't for one second think it was just a that wasn't our intent at all.
Right,
That's
right.
baloney.
I agree.
I almost said something else. But
Ethan,
but
have that jump button ready.
but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I'm just like so burnt out on everything that it's like I couldn't work up the outrage that I was seeing from a lot
Yeah.
of quarters. I was like, yeah, you know what? It's legit, but I don't have the energy, the mental energy to myself get into the whole like, I'm gonna tell everybody what I think about this.
I'm with you on that 100% on all that the show stuff, whatever it was, the performance of it. I agree. I understand why people are mad.
Yeah, I mean, it was
I just
blasphemous.
think
I
it's,
get
yeah,
that.
I
I
just
don't
think
argue
it's
that. I just
right.
it didn't move me in that direction the way it moved
What
some.
did move me in that direction was the way that the Palestinian athletes are being discussed, and just the fact that they're there, the way that they are, the way that the broadcasters, at least that I was watching, were painting the picture of the Palestinian athletes being some type of heroic freedom fighters, while the Israeli athletes are getting death threats and needing 24-hour security. It was like a a rainbow and sunshine picture of Palestine. Russia is not there, which
No.
I'm
Mhm.
totally fine with, and I
Right.
agree with, but they're not there because they started a war.
Right.
Russia is banned from the Olympics because
Mhm.
they attacked Ukraine.
Mhm.
What does anybody know? Is there nobody that sees this? Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's not even being addressed. It's they're just completely turning the other cheek
Mhm.
when it comes to all of that. And that just,
Ironically.
yeah, it just infuriated me.
Yeah.
Like the way that they're talking about how there's Russia's not here because of their attack on Ukraine and the war, and that's against the Olympic Committee would. And then when it gets to Palestine, they're talking about what wonderful people they are and how they have a message of freedom. Meanwhile, the flag bearer, did you see the flag bearer's shirt?
I don't think I did. No.
The Palestinian flag, there was two flag bearers. One of them is a boxer, and he was wearing a shirt with airplanes dropping bombs on children. That was what was depicted on his shirt. And he like tweeted it. Like, it's not like,
Wow.
they're very proud of it. They're very proud of it.
Wow.
And he said it was because it was the depiction of the
what-
innocent children being bombed
Right.
in his homeland.
Correct. Yeah, I get that. They're saying this is what's being done to us.
The IOC cleared the shirt despite a policy that political messages are banned from game events.
Interesting.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is the double standard that I just don't. I can't stand it anymore. You've already applied a double standard to who can be there and who can't be there, because Russia's not there for starting a war, but Palestine is there, and they also started a war. And I know there's a difference between Palestine and Hamas and everything, but come on, let's be realistic. And then you have a policy against political messaging at the games in any form.
Mhm.
And you let this guy go out there with a shirt on that has planes bombing children. The flag bearer on international television. I was exploding. And it was Friday night after a crazy long week. Like,
Right.
I was all for, like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to see how Celine Dion sounds.
Which she sounded great.
Like, that's
Props to
all I
Celine.
wanted to do. And here I am just getting hot when I did not go into that at all, wanting to analyze it for political reasons or anything else.
Right.
But they're just like, they're throwing it in your face and just laughing at anybody that thinks that there could be something wrong with this. Meanwhile, there's been multiple death threats against the Israeli athletes. The Israeli athletes have to have 24-hour security detail. They have to be escorted everywhere they go. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures or video from the football game or soccer game that they played where the crowd booed. You couldn't even hear the Israeli anthem at the beginning of the game because it was booed so much. And anytime Israel touched the ball, it was drowned. The whole stadium was drowned out in boos. There was a video that French authorities are now claiming was fake. There was a video of somebody at least saying that they were a Hamas terrorist that was the rivers were going to bleed with blood at the Olympics for allowing Israel to compete. And I mean, all of this is happening in the world, and we're just turning the other cheek on NBC. My head was exploding, Susie. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And this is what I kept asking my wife and daughter, like, do people not realize, most of the people watching the Olympics, are they so disengaged with the world, or so, I don't know, maybe just fooled by the progressive message about Israel being evil that I can't believe I can't believe there wasn't more outrage about all of it. Do people just not realize it? Do people not, is that message just not something that has connected with viewers of the Olympics across the country? Because I was shocked that more people aren't saying something.
I think part of it is that it got drowned out by the furor over the thumb in the eye of Christianity.
Yeah.
I think that got it. Because honestly, as much as I've seen on the other stuff, I haven't seen a lot of coverage of that stuff, and I haven't watched much of it, so I didn't see it myself. I share the sentiment that you're expressing. And I think, the double standard is one of those things that it's like the dirty little secret. It's like everyone just thinks it's okay because it's Israel, and it's not okay. And we're only 3 days, I guess, into this era, to the events and that sort of thing. So who knows how this is all going to develop? But I think it warrants some examination and some explanation. But the bottom line is, it's who the favored causes are.
My biggest fear is that because everybody's turning the other cheek, including the French, if you dig for the stories, you can find that there are these death threats and that the security is being enhanced and that French officials are, employing extra security, but you have to look to get that information.
Right.
But so they obviously do know. They're just, nobody's talking about it. My fear is because nobody's talking about it, it just emboldens the bad actors. Anybody that does want to or is considering some type of terrorist attack or some type of, action at the Olympics, they feel like the world's on their side. And they feel like the Olympics are on their side. Because of what's happening. I just feel like it makes the Olympics a more dangerous atmosphere when you just pretend like nothing's wrong and nothing's happening.
Right. Yeah, I think that very well could be. I guess if someone has evil on their heart, then they're not going to really base that on what somebody on NBC says or doesn't say. But even so, yeah, you're highlighting what's a blatant double standard, and there's only one rational explanation for that, and it's the one that people just, refuse to acknowledge, and that's the sort of inherent anti-Semitism that's pervasive, and that is still mind-boggling to me.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. It's one of the I'm not surprised by much in this world anymore, but this one has, and I've said this many times over the last year. I this one just still today even shocks me
Mhm.
that
Me too.
we have allowed such a loud anti-Semitic, just racist, promotion of terrorism, that we've allowed that to happen in this country. It just is. It's baffling to me, and
I'm right there with you.
and it all came out on Friday.
Well, good thing it's Monday, so you've had a
I
chance
know,
to sort of
right? I know. I was cooled
process
off.
it all,
I had
right?
cooled off for a couple days.
Now
and
look
now
at
I'm
ya.
thinking about it again, and I'm getting mad all over again. All right, we are going to, as I mentioned, we're going to get our friend Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire on the line, and we are going to get to the latest update. New text messages have been made public that reveal that law enforcement responsible for monitoring President Trump during the assassination attempt knew about the would-be assassin and flagged him 90 minutes. It was 60 minutes. Now it's 90 minutes before he opened fire, and there's more details about what police knew and about their actions throughout that day. So I want to get into that and much more as we continue with Susie Moore from Red State, who's my co-host today, and Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire, who joins us next on Colombo Company.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
If you are looking for a new vehicle, Weber Chevrolet is the place to go. They are the #1 rated Chevy dealer in the Midwest for a reason. They have been around in the St. Louis area for over 120 years, which is just an absolutely amazing stat. And, you're not in business for 120 years in the same community if you are not doing right by your customers. So it's no surprise that they're the #1 rated Chevy dealer in the Midwest. And it really is that customer service and the service that they provide you after you get your vehicle that, for me, sets them apart from the rest. Of course, they're going to give you the best deal on a new or used vehicle. They are going to give you the best deal on your trade-in. But they also are going to take care of you and that vehicle for the entire time that you own it. Weber Chevrolet's service departments are absolutely second to none. And for me, having that trust, if something does go wrong or you have questions, or you're going to get taken care of. You're going to get all the truthful information and not be taken advantage of. For me, it's that peace of mind and that service that really does set Weber Chevrolet apart from the rest. So if you're looking for a new vehicle, check out Weber Chevrolet at one of their 3 dealerships, Creve Coeur in Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia in Illinois. And you can find out what's happening at all 3 dealerships at WeberChevrolet.com.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family owned and operated, with owner Dean Cleathermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check WesternTireAuto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
On August 6th, your vote will shape our community's future. Introducing Representatives John Simmons and Kyle Marquardt, 2 candidates with starkly different records. John Simmons, a staunch conservative, has consistently cut taxes and defended parents' rights for education choice. He believes in limited government and safeguarding our privacy. Simmons even championed legislation to secure our elections, ensuring integrity at every step. In contrast, Kyle Marquardt voted to expand welfare and increase government spending, and also supported invasive, warrantless government drone searches. When it comes to protecting your rights and hard-earned money, the choice is clear. John Simmons is not just making promises, he's delivered real results. It's time to make your voice heard in the Republican primary. Vote John Simmons, the representative with the proven conservative voting record. Paid for by Nova PAC, James Murphy, Treasurer.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
Hans von Spakovsky. Can Biden give all the money he got to Harris? Is that legal?
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. As I mentioned, of course, producer Ethan is in studio with me, and so is Susie Moore from Red State. She's my co-host today, and joining us on the line, as she does every Monday afternoon, is also Virginia Cruda from the Daily Wire. Virginia, how are you on as we kick off another crazy week?
Oh, I'm good. I'm enjoying the fact that the biggest news right now, well, not the biggest news, but the thing that's clogging up the news feeds is all this insanity about the Olympics opening ceremony. So I'm kind of having a little fun with that. But
yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if you were listening, but I just went crazy a little bit about the Olympics. And
what was your take? I missed. Sum it up for me.
So I am more upset with the way that the double standard being shown with Palestine and Israel and Russia. Russia's banned from the games because they started a war, but Palestine isn't. The Palestinian flag bearer wears a shirt that shows
country.
Yeah, well, right, that too. That,
so can we ban them from competition because they don't exist?
Right. The Palestinian flag bearer wears a shirt in the opening ceremony that depicts bombs from airplanes falling on children, which he says is what's happening in his home country, and the broadcasters are, just painting a picture of the great brave athletes of Palestine and how they're freedom fighters and they're crying for peace.
There's a Polish commentator who was taken off the air for commentary based on because he commented about the use of the song Imagine to John Lennon because he said something about this paints a picture of a world without religion, without walls, without borders, without anything. It paints a picture of communism, and they pulled him off the air.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Virginia,
it's not just in the United States that stuff like this is happening.
I tweeted about that the other night. I said, why are we playing a song that says Imagine There's No Countries in an event that's about the competition between countries?
Yeah. Right.
Well, in fairness, I mean, if you want to go all Harry Potter, it's about international magical cooperation, right? So the idea is to get everybody together. And I will say this. I think that there are fierce rivalries in a lot of different sports. And I see this up close and personal because I love watching the swimming because that's what I grew up doing.
Sure.
And so for me, like I'm watching this and like the competition between the Aussies and the Americans is fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. When what's her name? She didn't even qualify for the Olympics this year, but she made that comment about, it's so much sweeter when we beat the Americans because I hate having to listen to their anthem all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't like it when an American world record holder walks out on the deck and they ring the bell.
Yeah.
Because it's an American team thing.
I saw that.
And they don't like it. And there's this whole big thing, and it's so much sweeter when we defeat the U.S., et cetera, et cetera. And it goes back and forth. Like sometimes the American swimmer wins and sometimes the Aussie swimmer wins. But it's all kind of in good fun. Like yesterday, I mean, who is the most famous name in swimming right now in the United States?
In my opinion, Katie Ledecky.
Exactly. Okay, so she is the one to beat, right? In every race. She comes out for the final of the 400, and Ariana Titmus, who ends up beating her, is standing in her lane because went to the wrong one by accident. And Katie's like, she's just laughing it off. She's like, look, I get it. I've done this before, because they get disqualified if they swim in the wrong lane. That's the other thing.
Right.
So both of them would get disqualified if this. And so Titmus apparently was horrified that she could have made this mistake. And Katie's like, no. And they just kind of laugh it off. And then they swim. And Titmus, who is the world record holder now in the 400, beat Katie Ledecky. In fact, she was one of two who beat Katie Ledecky in the 400, which is her weakest of her three major events anyway. And she lost in Tokyo to the same girl. But again, this is part of the Aussie-U.S. rivalry.
And this is what I love.
This is what I love
about the Olympics. Right. This is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be U.S. and Australia and the story about the swimming, and U.S. versus Jamaica on the track and field. Like that's the big rivalry there. That's what I love about the Olympics, and that's what it's supposed to be. But instead, we've got this weirdo, bizarro opening ceremony, and then this turning the other cheek and double standard when it comes to
and here's
international
France
affairs.
Has been entirely taken over by Islamists, and you know that they would never do this if they were mocking Muhammad, because you saw what happened with Charlie Hebdo. This is not. They would never do this if it was not Christianity. And the fact that I think their apology bothered me more than the fact that they did it. Like, I kind of expected this kind of stupid crap from the French Olympic Committee, to be honest. But the apology was like, well, we just meant to be inclusive, and we're sorry if you took offense to that. We're not sorry that we did something that might offend like 2.4 billion people, but we're just sorry that you feel bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it takes away from everything that the Olympics is supposed to be. And it's like, it's I've talked a lot about how I don't watch sports like I used to when I was a kid, and because of all the politics and messaging and other things that have gotten in the way. And now, that's exactly this. It turned up to 11. What's happening
now
at the Olympics?
I will say this, because I saw it and I was like, I really hate that they're doing this to the Olympics. I really hate that Jill Biden called it spectacular and thought, how can we top this in 2028? God help us if she's still in the White House doing things like that or anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But that said, this was done by the French Olympic Committee, and I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
We have American athletes who are Christians who were probably offended by this, who have to now decide, do I still compete?
Right.
Or do I?
Right.
And I feel like if we were going to watch and support our athletes, this is not a reason to walk away from them, because they don't deserve this. Yeah. They didn't ask for this. They didn't create this. They had no hand in it whatsoever. And they don't deserve us turning off what they've worked their entire lives for, because the French Olympic Committee is a bunch of cowards.
Yeah, no, that's well said, and I agree, and I am going to continue to watch the sports, but it just just that the other stuff that's going on, it's it's insulting at best and it's dangerous at worst, and it just that stuff needs to continue to be called out. While we have you, Virginia,
I'm absolutely call it out all day long, but don't give up on the athletes who worked so hard for this.
Amen. I wanted to talk a little bit about the latest happening as we get more information on what happened during the Trump assassination. It seems like as we mentioned earlier, every day we're not getting questions answered.
Tony, please add attempt to the end.
Yeah,
right.
Did I not say attempt?
You didn't.
Oh, sorry.
I caught that too.
I'm sorry. I thought I did. I'm sorry. No, good. Yes,
let's be clear.
Thank you for calling me. Yes, thank you for mentioning. Yes. But as we mentioned earlier, there's been more questions arising every day, not questions being answered. I know that you have an article, but it's a few days old, about conspiracy theorists are at it again, the burden on Trump to prove he was shot. I know this article that you wrote is 4 or 5 days old, but I wanted to ask both of you, Virginia first, are we still having that conversation on any real level, or is that madness about this being staged or fake in some way? Is that still a conversation being had at any high level?
Well, the way it was being presented, so the reason that it came up was FBI Director Wray's testimony last week when he said Basically, he said we're not.
We don't know what it was.
Confusion as to what struck him.
Yeah.
Whether it was shrapnel or a bullet or whatever. And so everybody ran with that because if the FBI director says it might not have been a bullet, then it might not have been a bullet, guys. And then, of course, a couple of days later, the FBI comes out and cleans it up, sort of, and says, no, this was a bullet or a fragment of the bullet that came from the shooter's weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was supposed to be the end of it. But here, I think that there are a couple things in play. One, they don't want to have to admit that Trump got shot. Because if they admit that Trump got shot, they also have to come to grips with the fact that he stood up afterwards and waved at the crowd, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And their candidate can't get off a stage without help at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they have a different candidate who has a whole host of other problems, but not, I mean, she knows which way to exit stage. That's a low bar, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they don't want to have to admit that he got shot because they don't want to have to admit that American badass picture is real.
Right.
They don't want to have to admit that. And then you throw in all this kerfuffle about the debate. They are trying to paint him as a coward by saying, well, you didn't show up. You're not going to show up to a debate that, somebody else negotiated in good faith. Like, look, no. Biden backed out of the debate when he backed out of the race. Kamala Harris is not entitled to Biden's preordained or pre-selected debate time any more than she's apparently entitled to the money that he collected.
Mm-hmm.
So we can kind of see where that's going to go. But the idea that he is a coward does not really sell if you have to also admit that picture is real.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And he really got shot.
And
so
Susie,
you can't... Yeah.
As we mentioned, we have a lot of real questions that we need to get the truth to and the answers to. And you're reporting and the stories that you're, covering, is this distraction still out there as we try to do real, get real answers to real questions?
Not on a serious level. You still have your fringe elements, people that want to continue to argue about it. And I think it's what Virginia said. I mean, they don't want to legitimize Trump in any way. So A, if he got shot, he's a victim. B, if he got shot, he's a brave, he responded to it in a brave, powerful fashion in a kind of iconic legend way. C, if it's a bullet, then, the narrative is, favors the right more than the left. But for the most part, that particular part of it has been, I think, pretty much put to rest. And then, because then there was Eargate, because he took the bandage off his ear and his ear didn't look like completely mangled. So then there was the whole host of people that were like, he didn't get shot. So there's just, it's just one of those things where people are so irrational when it comes to Donald Trump that it doesn't matter. Remember when he said he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and people still vote for him?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same principle writ large. He could be shot on Fifth Avenue and people would still hate him or love him regardless. It's just people's their opinions, their acceptance of facts seems to be based on how they feel about Donald Trump.
Yeah. And Virginia, I want to change subjects for just a second. We only got a couple minutes left. So really quickly on this one, you have another new article out. Again, you can get all of Virginia's articles at thedailywire.com. About the vice president situation with Kamala Harris, which is obviously just going to, heat up more and more in the coming days. You have an article about Pete Buttigieg defending Harris and seeming to kind of make his case to be vice president. I don't want to get into, we don't have time to get into all the details here. I just want to ask you, is Pete Buttigieg, and then also who else? We've talked about J.B. Pritzker. Who are the people that are realistically on that vice presidential list that you could see Kamala Harris and the Democrats selecting?
Speaking of somebody who lives in Illinois, if
I
you
know.
want to make Kamala Harris less likable, put Pritzker on the ticket with her.
All right. I know.
I mean, it's difficult to do, but I think if you add Pritzker, you could do it. Now, if you look at Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania is one that has kind of risen to the forefront. Of course, there are people who are like, but wait a minute, Josh Shapiro is Jewish, and that could be a problem for Kamala Harris given the far left in her party and the Palestinian, pro-Hamas wing. That could be a problem for him. Now, what people don't think of immediately is that Pritzker's Jewish too. He's just not one of those pesky Jewish guys who actually believe Israel has the right to exist.
So is Kamala's husband.
And says so out loud, right?
Yeah, he's more of a Bernie Sanders
I was
Jewish
going to say,
person.
I don't think that Kamala's husband would be brave enough to say that to her.
Oh, wow.
Probably not.
In any capacity. But that said, there are a lot of names floating around. Pete Buttigieg obviously is one of them. And the amount of time he spent spinning, he went on Fox News for a 12-minute interview with Shannon Bream, and you can imagine how that went. Most of it was him saying things that were at best half truths, and then trying to spin them in a direction that made Kamala sound a little bit less awful. And so I just wonder, and I think it's going to be the most interesting thing about the Veep stakes for me is seeing which one of them is willing to debase themselves the most to get the nod. How far are they willing to go? What whopper are they willing to tell in order to get Kamala Harris to say, you can be my second?
Yeah, and the fact that the names are, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, Pete Buttigieg. I mean, that shows the pathetic state of the Democratic Party when it comes to
Gretchen Whitmer has been floated also, but I don't think that makes it a more likable ticket either.
Totally agree. Yeah, you can keep going down that list and it doesn't get any better as you go. Virginia, thank you so much as always for your time. As I mentioned, check out Virginia's articles at thedailywire.com. You can also see a lot of our articles on our website, newstalkstl.com. Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Thanks as always for your time, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Great stuff there from Virginia. Yeah, it's done. You got to go. Susie Moore from Red State here in studio with me. When we talk to our buddy Mike McCleary, our tech expert at 305, I want to get into this story about Elon Musk exposing Google's search function. Have you seen this?
Yes.
That it doesn't, if you try,
doesn't auto-populate.
Trump assassination attempt or any, it doesn't auto-populate any of that, which is just bizarre. And it gets worse. I'll tell you the rest of the story, and we'll get some insight about that big tech and its influence and how it works and all of that stuff when we talk to Mike McCleary from Intervine at 305. I want to get into these brand new revealed text messages from law enforcement responsible for monitoring President Trump at that assassination attempt a couple weeks ago. So I want to give you the latest there as we roll on here with Susie Moore from Red State. We'll do that next on Colombo Company.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
A+ Plumbing and Drain is one of my favorite companies to talk about. Jeremiah Burpo, the owner of A+ Plumbing and Drain, is a great friend. He has been our plumber since before he even started this company. I can't recommend them enough. They are a local family-owned business that has grown from the ground up, literally on reputation and word of mouth. And I don't know a better way to build credibility in a company than that. Just by over delivering for your customers across the board, and the word spreads and your company grows. That is exactly the kind of local family-owned business that I know I like to support, and I know that you do as well. Again, they are a local family-owned business. They can take care of all of your plumbing needs. They specialize in new construction and home renovation. So if you have one of those large projects coming up, A+ Plumbing and Drain, definitely the team that can help you out. But of course, they're there for emergency services. They are there for leaks. They're there if you need just simple home service needs like replacing a sink faucet. A+ Plumbing and Drain does it all across the board, and they do it better than anyone else. So call A+ for your next plumbing need or plumbing project at your home or business. You can call A+ at 636-288-7126, or you can learn more and contact them through their Facebook page. A+ Plumbing and Drain on Facebook.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Re-elect State Representative Tony Lavasco. Tony Lavasco eliminated licenses for home-based businesses. Tony Lavasco, rated 100% by the American Conservative Union. Tony Lavasco, the only candidate endorsed by Missouri Right to Life and by the NRA. Tony Lavasco, the only choice for small, limited government. On August 6th, vote Liberty. Vote Lavasco.
I'm Tony Lavasco, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Citizens for Lavasco. Dan Rakers, Treasurer.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space? STL Fenceworks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top-quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with Susie Moore from Red State. And as I mentioned, there is more information being revealed about the law enforcement and security surrounding Donald Trump during the assassination attempt a couple weeks ago. Text messages revealed that law enforcement responsible for monitoring former President Trump's Pennsylvania rally spotted his would-be assassin and flagged him to colleagues as suspicious at least 90 minutes before he opened fire. This is new information and an expansion of the timeline, at least as we've known it publicly until this point. The messages obtained by the media from Senator Chuck Grassley, who obtained them from Beaver County Emergency Services, showed that officers flagged 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks after he was spotted using a rangefinder, which is something typically used in golf that you can look through like binoculars, and it tells you exactly how far whatever you're looking at is away. So very helpful if you're trying to shoot somebody from a distance. Yeah. The first screenshot is a group chat of Beaver ESU officers, while the second is from one Beaver County sniper departing his shift around 4:30 p.m., approximately an hour and a half before Trump took the stage. This was first reported by the New York Times, but it's everywhere now. The screenshots have been released. It's a group chat around 4:35 p.m. when one of the officers texted that his shift was ending, and he warned that a man, later identified as Crooks, had parked near their vehicle. He said, quote, "Someone followed our lead and snuck in and parked by our cars, just letting you know." A follow-up said that Crooks was about 50 yards from the rally's exit, sitting at a picnic table. Two other counter snipers responded with a thumbs up emoji and writing Roger that. Then approximately 45 minutes Later at 5:10 p.m., officers flagged that Crooks was on the move and had positioned himself near the American Glass International building. Crooks would later perch himself on top of that building and target the former president. While Crooks waited, an officer snapped a picture of the 20-year-old suspect. The picture showed Crooks leaning against the building with little commentary here in the story with his signature greasy shoulder length hair. Okay. Quote, kid, this is from the text messages. Quote, kid leaning around the building we're in. An officer wrote in a text message along with an image of Crooks. AGR, I believe it is. I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage. FYI, if you want to notify SS snipers, Secret Service snipers, to be on the lookout. And then later said, I lost sight of him. The officer added a follow-up message saying, quote, call it into command and have a uniform check it out. The newly surfaced text showed that the authorities knew about the suspicious person, later identified as Crooks, close to 90 minutes before the shooting, updating the previous known time of about 60 minutes. Susie, again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse. We've said it multiple times now. Instead of getting questions answered, more and more questions are arising. The fact that they had identified him and were monitoring his movements for an hour and a half before he shot President Trump is makes things even more baffling,
right?
Because if you're monitoring him and you're monitoring his movements, how in the world did he get up? I mean, in these text messages, you see, tell the Secret Service you might want to keep an eye on him. Send a uniformed officer over to talk to him and get a feel about what's going on there. That's pretty intense. That's a pretty intense surveillance.
Sure.
Like you're watching somebody
Right.
really closely if you're sending those types of messages. So how does that person get up on the roof and get a clear shot at the former president? It's just
right. No, there's like layers and layers and layers of failures and missed communication, not miscommunication, but missed communication. The SWAT team was interviewed by ABC News over the weekend, and they played it this morning. And it's a group of like 5 or 6 people. They're all men except for one woman. They're the people that you see up on the roof later on with the body cam on after the fact. I don't know if you saw any of those videos that Grassley released last week.
Yes.
That's primarily those people. And they were all being asked about it. And they said, yeah, we were, kind of keeping an eye, and we were communicating this to one another in our group chat. And our assumption was that command, in other words, the people or the office to whom they report, was then disseminating the information to Secret Service or to the uniformed officers to go check things out. So they were communicating amongst each other with the understanding and the belief that that information was then being communicated up chain to somebody who could then take, Secret Service action on it or whatever. Somewhere along the line, it didn't get communicated upstream. And the guys there that were being interviewed basically said, like, the one guy was like, in hindsight, like, we failed. And they're taking a lot of it on themselves, and yet they were the ones that were actually doing everything that they were supposed to be doing. They just didn't realize that what they were communicating wasn't getting communicated further.
So what is your gut feeling? Is it just massive communications failure? Is it maybe too many groups, the
Chefs in
Secret
the
Service,
kitchen.
that aren't used to working with each other, that aren't on the same page? What's your gut feeling about this? Or is there something larger?
Right. If you're going to rule out the sinister explanation, which I can't rule out 100%, but let's set that aside for a second.
Okay.
If we're just going to talk about, like, okay, things went wrong here, but no one had ill intent except for the shooter. It seems to me that Secret Service, by and large, had the majority of the responsibility, and the onus was on them to make sure that they were correctly communicating with everybody, and they didn't do that because they didn't show up for the 9 a.m. briefing. They didn't have any contact with this SWAT team until after the fact. Something got dropped on Secret Service lines as far as what they were supposed to be overseeing and communicating. And so I think that's where the bulk of it is, because no one really took ownership and responsibility of being like the main overseer of this.
Do you think that we will get answers?
Yeah, so maybe not to everything,
Yeah.
but like what Grassley is doing is, I mean, he's gotten on and gotten this information and put it out like
Yeah.
transparently as quickly as possible. He's doing that. Ron Johnson. There's a few
Josh Hawley.
who are doing this. So we are going to get a lot of those operational answers or questions answered. There's still some, and the main people that need to answer up is Secret Service, and we really haven't gotten answers from them yet.
Yeah. Well, we will continue to monitor this, and it's just amazing how much more ineptitude seems to be revealed on a daily basis. And hopefully we do start to get some of those answers very, very soon. We are going to be joined by our buddy Mike McCleary from Intervine. He is our tech expert. There are headlines out today regarding Elon Musk and Google and allegations of election interference against Google. Will explain that story, and we will get some insights about how all of that works from our tech expert, Mike McCleary from Intervine, next here on Colombo Company.
By now, you've heard Adam Schnelting's false attack ads. Don't buy his lies. Adam Schnelting says he opposes the transgender agenda, but he's trying to conceal the truth. Schnelting has received more than $71,000 from liberal trial lawyers. Those same trial lawyers supporting Schnelting also gave over $100,000 to a liberal group that supports men playing girls' sports, supports men using girls' bathrooms, and even supports gender mutilation surgeries for minors. To make matters worse, Adam Schnelting says he supports our gun rights, but he's received thousands from leading anti-gun lawyers that filed a massive lawsuit against gun makers and gun owners. But that's not all. These liberal lawyers don't just fund Adam Schnelting's campaign, their anti-gun lawsuits, or the transgender movement. They've also been leading funders of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and even the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris ticket. Adam Schnelting. With friends like that, conservatives just can't trust him. On August 6th, don't forget Adam Schnelting. He's loved by liberals, and he lies like one too.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, it's Colombo for Capriati's Sandwich Shop. Capriati's is famous for setting themselves apart due to their dedication to superior quality and ingredients like slow-roasted, hand-pulled whole turkey and American Wagyu straight from Snake River Farms. That dedication to superior quality is evident from the very first bite into a Capriati sandwich. Visit Capriati's Sandwich Shop 7 days a week at the corner of Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill, and get more info, including how to impress at your next event with their great catering at capriatis.com.
How are your windows doing this summer? Are they keeping the hot air out, keeping the cool air in? If you have any doubts at all, once you get a hold of Window World, simply the best for less. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. Tim Jones here to tell you how awesome Window World is, one of only 2 window companies in the entire country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They've got a lifetime warranty, covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor, a double strength of glass, incredibly thermally efficient, for the first time ever, offering 0% financing plans up to 36 months. 314-993-1800. 314-993-1800. WindowWorld.com. WindowWorld.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. On the battlefront, Ukrainian soldiers say Russian forces has overrun 2 frontline villages in the eastern Donetsk region. Correspondent Karen Shamas has the latest on the front line in the Ukraine war.
The 2 villages lie about 20 miles northwest of Avdiivka, a Donetsk city that the Russian army seized in February after a long battle. The Ukrainian army sergeant has said the Russians pressed non-stop, sending in a large number of troops, which had not previously been used. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the situation in the Donetsk region as extremely challenging. He added that anyone who manages to stop the Russian offensive is performing one of the most important missions in the war. I'm Karen Shamas.
Also at townhall.com, for once American voters are in near total agreement about politics. They almost all agree that President Biden was right to exit the presidential race.
In the latest New York Times Siena College poll released on Thursday, 87% of registered voters approved of his decision to drop out. Only 9% disapproved. Democrats and Republicans probably don't agree for the same reason. Republicans have generally always had a negative view of the president, whereas many Democrats approved of his job performance, but may have seen his exit as the most strategic path forward, or came to accept his decision once he made it.
That's correspondent Bernie Bennett. A special committee of the Texas Senate convening to hear executives from Houston's largest utility provider explain the massive electricity failure that occurred when Hurricane Beryl hit the city on July 8th. At least 36 people have died due to heat complications after losing power. That power was off for an extended period of time for some. Stocks finishing mixed. The Dow dropped 44 points. The NASDAQ was up a dozen. More at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. First Alert weather days have been issued due to intense heat and humidity. We'll also have to monitor for a low chance, but a chance for some strong storms to develop. Tuesday morning, we'll wake up to 80. We'll have a high of 98 with a heat index of 110. 20% chance afternoon, evening to see some storms. But again, even though it's a low chance, it could be strong if they develop. A low of 80 Wednesday morning, a high of 99, a heat index around 110 to 112 in the afternoon. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Fox News commentary.
It's bad enough we have to suffer through Operation Kamala Coconut Tree Brat Summer, but now the Olympics has to go woke and weird too? I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
I have come to the conclusion that there is nothing left for normal people anymore, so I guess we shouldn't be surprised that the Olympics based in France would give us such a bizarre and blasphemous opening ceremony. According to Paris organizers, the objectively odd opening ceremony with a bearded lady man, drag queens, a naked blue man, and the clear mockery of the Last Supper, well, it wasn't intended to offend anyone, but rather to celebrate community tolerance. Something tells me that if Islam was mocked like Christianity was with that opening ceremony, it would be a much different story. But I stopped caring about the Olympics when American athletes started kneeling or otherwise disrespecting our country, so I never planned to watch anyway. No offense to the members of Team USA who are proudly representing our great country, but I'm going to take a pass on Paris. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
They cover the important stories.
They're not going to stop Trump.
Close the border now.
It just makes sense. 101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls go by dressed in their
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Lots of company today as we kick off another busy week here. Tomorrow marks 1 week to the primary elections in the state of Missouri. Yeah, we'll get into we'll talk some of those local elections here in just a few minutes while we still have Susie in studio with us today. But right now, as we do every Monday at this time, it is time to check in with our buddy Mike McCleary from Intervine, our tech expert here on Colombo and Company. And Mike, there's a lot. There's a headline about Google in the news today that I wanted to get your thoughts on. And as always, really appreciate your time today, my friend.
Happy to be here, and don't know if you know it, but I will be flying out in the morning to the Olympics, and I will be not looking for some kind of Leonardo mural or something like that. That's pretty sad that I saw that.
Well, you can be our tech expert and our official Olympic correspondent if you'd like to have that title.
I
as
love
well.
it.
Yeah, they both pay exactly the same, so you'll double your.
That's awesome.
0 plus 0, whatever that equals is what you will get, sir. You know what? We talked about the Olympics earlier. I don't want to dig back into that whole conversation. If you missed it, please just make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, and the best way to never miss anything that happens here on the show. But just in general, rank and file people watching the Olympics. I just feel like you either watch that and you're confused and sort of just turned off because it's so weird, and that's kind of best case scenario, or you're like literally insulted, like so many people were around the country and around the world. It just like not the way to reach out to the world by the French Olympic Committee, in my opinion. What was your overall thoughts about the opening ceremony and just the Olympics to this point?
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I always teach my kids, I talk to people I work with, friends, that every time that you say or do something, always think about the consequences. What's the point? What are you able to get out of what you're doing? And I cannot help but wonder what were they thinking by putting that presentation up there in front of the world? I mean, that's not something about being inclusive at all. It's just the opposite, excluding pretty much or insulting 2 billion people around the world.
Yeah.
I don't know what they could have possibly been thinking other than a shock factor and just saying, we don't care.
Yeah. And it's just like, even if if you're trying to prove a point or something or stick it, in somebody's face, that's even worse, because that's not what this is. That's not what the Olympics is all about. It's not about your time to get your political message across or get your religious message across. It's about putting all of that aside for the sake of unity in sports and how that brings the world together. So even if you consciously knew what you were doing, it's the opposite of what of what that whole committee and what the whole message is supposed to be about. It's just baffling. But Mike,
100%.
go ahead.
I mean, look at it like you're bringing countries together that don't get along, but they're still competing. People of different religions competing with each other. If you look at the sportsmanship, it's crazy how good it is in some of these contests. That these people that respect each other so much, playing as hard as they can, and then shaking hands afterwards. And it truly is about bringing people together and being inclusive. And that's what really shocked me the most.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually when we have Mike on, we're talking about AI, but I wanted to sort of switch gears today. I don't know if you saw these headlines. Elon Musk is involved in this, and other people, criticizing Google about their search functions. So billionaire Elon Musk suggested that Google's omission of search functions for the assassination attempt against former President Trump may be improper. Musk took to social media to highlight that Google's search autocomplete feature omitted results relating to the July 13th shooting. Google has denied taking any action to limit the results. Elon Musk wrote in his post, quote, "Wow, Google has a search ban on President Donald Trump. Election interference? Question mark." He continues, quote, "They're getting themselves into a lot of trouble if they interfere with the election." A Google spokesperson, of course, said that they didn't do anything. They said, quote, "There's no manual action taken on these predictions, on the autofill predictions." They said, quote, "Our systems have protections against autocomplete predictions associated with political violence, which were working as intended prior to this horrific event occurring. However, people have realized, and there's tons of screenshots. By the way, I tested this myself, so I can tell you and I encourage everybody to go test it themselves, that this is all true. If you go onto Google and you search for the failed assassination attempts of President Reagan, the assassination against the Archduke Ferdinand, if you look at other shootings like Bob Marley or the failed attempt on former President Ford, all of those have autocomplete that work just like you think it would. So them saying that
I'm looking at it right now,
that it stems, that it doesn't
Harry
happen.
Truman too.
Yeah.
Which is TRUM.
Yeah, that it doesn't finish for Trump, but does for everybody else. Kind of defeats that excuse of, well, it censors anything that's associated with political violence.
I mean, there are 10 autocomplete results. I think that's the standard number. I'm looking at it right now. 6 out of 10 are presidents. So, I mean, don't understand how that can even be their excuse. And also, I don't know if you guys recall, but back in 2013, there was another autocomplete trend going around where when people typed in miserable failure, and this is back from, it started like even a decade before that, autocomplete came up with one of our presidents, George Bush.
Yes, I do remember that.
Miserable failure. And that, they didn't take any ways to stop that from happening, yet this is not happening when you think it's a trending news story. Heck, Amazon had stuff all about Trump in their autocomplete just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah, if you do, I just did it right now. If you go to Google and you type in Trump and then you space and then just tap the A and then the S. If you're trying to type in Trump assassination attempt, it doesn't finish anything. It doesn't give any results.
You can type it yourself and then search, and it will pull them up.
Right.
But it's the autocomplete,
Yeah.
which is supposedly a helpful feature.
Right. So, Mike, how much influence does the autocomplete have? How much, and do you buy Google's excuse of this is just the system working and political violence when you can clearly, Google other things and it works for it. So, what do you think of that excuse? And then also your personal opinion, how much influence, how big of a deal is this story?
Well, I can tell you this, that autocomplete on any major search engine, e-commerce engine plays a huge role. And that's why you will see people around the world gaming the system, like businesses gaming the system by trying to get as many of their customers as possible to go in there and, hey, type exactly this in. My product is the best, or the best, if I want to do this, best flashlight headlamp. When you do that, you build up this recognition that can definitely affect the autocomplete. And that's because these companies that are doing that, they know how important it is. People are lazy. No one likes to type in more than 3 or 4 letters. And if you see something come up that is relevant to what you were thinking, you just hit the enter button. You just accept it. And when you don't, it's frustrating. And it will keep people from learning about topics that could be trending or going on right now because they're not seeing it autocomplete. I don't want to go out there and look at some, attempted assassination from 50 years ago.
Right.
That's not at the top of my mind right now, but what's in the news is.
Absolutely. Elon Musk mentioned election interference. There was, of course, other people in the media and Republican politicians saying that this is an example of election interference, or at least controlling the message. I could tell you just from our experience, we here at News Talk STL, we've had suspensions on Facebook, on YouTube. We've been accused of disseminating misinformation that could influence an election when we've just been talking about news stories. There was even one time we put out a promo of the station early on, just kind of an introduction of the station that had no news in it whatsoever. And it said that we were guilty of influencing elections. So if the terms of service and the bots or whoever it is that's the eye in the sky that's watching this is so sensitive that it could get us for just introducing a new conservative talk station in a major market, I feel like if it's that sensitive, then this would be something that should be caught and flagged as well. Am I taking it too personally when I point out that double standard and that it exists?
I mean, anyone, I think on both sides of the aisle would tell you that conservative viewpoints are censored I don't know what the ratio is. Let's just say it's like 10 times more than other, competing viewpoints. I mean, it's pretty much out there right now. And this gets to one of the issues, and we talk about this on the AI world, but just in the tech world, or let's say social media world in general, they're private companies. They have terms of service, which I completely understand. I'm a business. Anyone who has a business should be able to control, have their own terms of service and control what is and what's not allowed. But when these companies get so big and they become more of news agencies and news services, I think someone needs to step in and make sure that they are not trying to lean things one way or the other. I don't care which way it is. You shouldn't be withholding anyone or banning people on YouTube or Google or Microsoft, whatever it is. If you want to go out there and share real things that are happening, they shouldn't have any right to do that without answering to someone who can come in and try to figure out, is there a preponderance of, banning people with one or more political beliefs? And I think the answer we've all seen is, yeah, there is.
Susie, do you guys experience that suppression at Red State, and how do you combat it? How do you deal with it?
It's a never-ending battle. There are, I refer to them as the censor scolds. There are times when we end up getting dinged, if you will, because we covered a certain topic. Doesn't matter. We back our stuff up. It's not to say that we never ever get anything wrong, but we do what we can in our due diligence to make sure we're backing up what we're saying is accurate. Doesn't matter. If it's on certain touchy topics, it can get us dinged, which lowers our ad rates. We are fighting this battle every day, all day long. And it's exhausting, but it's important to do because it's like, you want to make sure that you're getting our voice heard as well, just to get all the other perspectives. And Mike, you hit on something that I think is really important here. You said, I don't care which side or whatever, they just shouldn't be putting their thumb on the scale. And that's what I hear over and over again from people on the right, and from the people on the left. I hear, well, but it's okay to do it because it's about Trump. It's like they justify it because the ends justify the means from that one perspective. That's not right.
No, you're so right. And it's so clear that it's happening out there, and there are people out there who make their living on news channels, these channels. Look at YouTube. Let's throw in TikTok, Facebook. Whatever. There are people who do entertainment, they do news stories, and they're afraid of saying certain words because if they say a certain word, like lo and behold, you say needle or vaccine, your video is demonetized. That means that they don't get paid for that effort. And that means that they have to, lower the fire people or lower what they're going to bring home to the family, all because they said one word that someone felt you should never say in public.
Yeah. It happened to us with hydroxychloroquine. That was a word that just got us suspended on YouTube. And Mike, before we run out of time with this, and I've been a big proponent of YouTube platforms like Rumble and just other options. We've given so much power. Google and Facebook and some of these, these big tech companies, they certainly, have a lot of criticism and should be called out on it, should be held accountable. But we also are partially to blame ourselves because we've given so much power and we've all consolidated. Everybody uses Google, everybody uses Facebook. I feel like, more options out there is one way to combat this from happening. Would you agree with that? And are there any, do those options really exist in any large way right now, specifically when it comes to the search engines like Google? I know there are other ones, but do any of them are any of them catching up or making a dent into Google whatsoever? And can they be trusted? Are they just as bad?
Well, right now they can be trusted, or at least the ones that I've used can be trusted. And you're exactly right. This is the first time, maybe the second time, that I've seen Google be really afraid of their marketplace, because they still make, 80 to 90% of all their revenue off of advertising, which is all based off of search. So if they ever lose any search, visit traffic to another company, it's going to hurt them. And there's a company I use called Perplexity.ai. To have know nothing about them, know people. I'm not talking about trying to promote it, but it is a search engine which there's no censorship, and it actually answers questions. It'll go out there, and it's free. You can go out there, you ask it a question, just like you're talking to your friend. It'll go do the research and give you an answer. No ads, nothing at all, and it'll cite all the sources where it found information that this is why I think you got the answer that you want. It's just one of hundreds of other sites that are out there, or services that are coming for the big tech firms. And that's why you will see companies like Meta, Apple, Google being really afraid of AI because they know that they have a lot to lose, more than anyone, because all comes down to money and losing ad revenue.
I just pulled it up, perplexity.ai. I will definitely check this out and use this a little bit and give it a chance over Google, certainly, to just to see what it's all about. That's great stuff. Want to remind folks that Mike is our tech expert here on the show, but also about Intervine, his company, local family-owned business that has customers all over the country, all over the world, really, because they make the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps on the market, whether you're looking for something heavy duty like the self-defense flashlight or the Monster 2000 lumen lantern, all the way down to, a reliable small flashlight for your vehicle or for your home. They have it all. Batteries in all different sizes, all at intervine.com. And if you go there right now, you can use my name, Tony, as your promo code, and you can get 25% off everything. So make sure you got a good lantern, headlamp, flashlight for your home or for your outdoor gear. Stock up on batteries and do it all for 25% off. Intervine.com, INTERVINE, intervine.com. Use my name, Tony, as your promo code. Did I cover it all there, Mike? Did I get all the info out there correctly?
You did, and none of our flashlights do any censoring. I just want to say that
Perfect.
right now.
Another strong selling point.
There's no microphone embedded in the headlamp that's sending information back to the Intervine headquarters. That's funny. Great stuff, Mike. Really appreciate your time as always. Really appreciate the insight as always. And we will talk to you soon, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next Monday.
Thanks, Matt. Great stuff there from Mike McCleary from intervine.com. All right, Susie Moore from Red State's my co-host today, and we're going to switch gears and talk about some of the local elections that are in the absolute home stretch right now. Tomorrow marks 1 week to the primary elections here across the state of Missouri, which are so massively important in so many different areas. So I want to preview and talk about, where we're at, the momentum of those various elections next here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Flowers and my love hope never to come back.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Get ready for a tourism transformation. Candidate for Lieutenant Governor, David Wassinger has a vibrant vision to make St. Louis shine. From the Gateway Arch to Forest Park and beyond, Wassinger is committed to making St. Louis a top travel destination. Meet and hear David Wassinger speak this Thursday, August 1st at 7 p.m. at 3710 Hampton Avenue. Learn more about this free event at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
This might be breaking news to many of you. Did you know that someone tried to kill President Trump on July 13? Did you know that happened? Of course you do. And you know how it uncovered the total fail of the Secret Service. But the news cycle is always turning. And since that assassination attempt, we've had Joe Biden say he's stepping aside in his run for the White House and handing the torch to VP Harris. Previously, Biden had suggested, I'm more than capable of being president and running again, saying only the voice of God can get me to change my mind. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy says, I think what Biden thought was the voice of God was really the voice of Barack Obama. I would add to Joe, Barack is God. But back to the assassination attempt on Trump and just now being ignored. The leftists saw how that fueled even more support for Trump. So they had two options. Ignore it, which state-controlled media is helping them, or claim it never happened, that Trump was not even hit by a bullet. It was a shard of glass. Idiots. A shard of glass, a bullet. It was still obviously an attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. And do not forget, a father of two was killed.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
If you haven't been to Lit Cigar Lounge in the district at Chesterfield, you're missing a great experience. Premium cigars, drinks, spacious seating, TVs in every direction. This and more explain why Lit was voted Best Cigar Lounge 2 years in a row. Now you can be at Lit and order Napoli Brothers pizza and pasta delivered to you. In fact, Napoli's just a few doors down. A coal-fired oven giving a unique taste. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, now open in the Chesterfield district.
St. Charles County is a great county and community.
Joe Brazel supports smart growth.
In recent years, there has been an explosion of growth, an increase of apartment buildings by 180%. Explosive growth is not good for our citizens. It causes major strains on our resources. Having a rural area in our county and preserving our heritage is very important by not wiping out every tree and contaminating our water.
Joe Brazel, a true patriot working for you.
I'm Joe Brazel, running for St. Charles County Council, District 2, vote August 6th.
Paid for by citizens for Joe Brazel. Mike Summers, Treasurer.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there's a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Some activists say what the region's economy needs is more expensive Metrolink train lines. We're going to do the reality check on that at 8:05.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
When you were here before.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. And sometimes you get surprise company. Perfect timing because we're just about to switch gears to talk about some of the local elections as tomorrow marks 1 week to the primary election day here in the state of Missouri, which is unbelievable. And I saw him in the hallway. And you just never know here at News Talk STL, the celebrities, the big names that just, could be right outside the door. Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks, who's usually with us on Thursdays, is in studio with us. Great to see you.
Well, I'm sorry that one of those awesome celebrities isn't here, but
I was talking about you.
Oh, right.
Just sell yourself.
Gotta go with it. Yeah, gotta go with it.
Yeah, you just, whatever. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Of course, Susie Moore from Red State, my co-host today. And as I mentioned, we were just about to get into some of the discussion about the upcoming elections. Justin's with us every Thursday, and because of your law enforcement background, we haven't really talked about, these local elections and these local stories because we've been talking so much about the law enforcement response because you have a history with security detail for vice presidents and presidents. I'm glad you're here because even though we were just talking about that off the air, I want to take advantage of this, and I'll probably have more law enforcement questions for you on Thursday. But wanted to take advantage of this time and check in with you a week out from the election and, your election. And then just overall, what is going to be, I think, the most important primary election and that I could ever remember in the state of Missouri. I mean, you can't really understate how important this election is next week, can you?
No, not at all. In fact, the real election in Missouri this year is happening next week.
Mm-hmm.
The real one. It's not in November.
Yeah,
because President Trump's going to be elected, and the Republicans down the ticket are going to be elected. That's not the real election. The real election is between the Republicans, and this has been my first. Even though I was elected 2 years ago, I was nominated in a special, and then had basically 90 days. And then the general election. So this has been my first real exposure to a real campaign, knocking on thousands of doors, and the exposure to what people within the Republican Party are actually doing. And here's what I'll tell you guys. It's shocking how everybody is so darn conservative. I just didn't know because I work with all of these people and I laugh. I really do. I look at Mandy, my wife, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Because I know these people. I have spent so much time. I know how they actually feel. And this is where politics gets its dirty name.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really is.
Mhm.
Everybody goes out to kiss babies and shake hands and tell everybody what they want to hear. And there's very, very little authenticity to it.
Mhm.
And so I've been faced with this like, well, I am just the worst suited person for this job in terms of I'm not fake. So
Mhm.
it's hard for me because if people ask me, I am 100% honest. I'm like, this person's a nice guy, but he's not conservative at all. And this guy does not believe this. This guy actually authored legislation and amendments to do the exact opposite of what he
Mhm.
is purporting to you right now.
Mhm.
And so, and it's like I don't want to hurt anybody, but I am going to be 100% truthful because I think it's the only way that we actually change this system that we find ourselves in. And we are on like a train right now. This state and this country is at an inflection point. It really is. And we are diametrically opposed. The polarization ideologically within the state and within the country, we couldn't be any further apart. And we are headed towards one destination at like rocket speed. There is only one destination, and we're headed right there right now. And if you said, Justin, you look into your crystal ball, what do you think is going to happen? We are going to, if nothing changes, if something doesn't radically change within the political discourse in our nation and in this state of Missouri, by next week of the election, we are headed for a civil conflict. 100%. We are on that train. It is a slow motion disaster that is right in front of us. And I don't think that our country has ever been in such a precarious situation. You hear me talk about it all the time because it's so obvious. This is the destination. It's right in front of us, and we have to do something to deviate from the course.
You know, in the past, I would have said that is, you know, a little bit of an alarmist take, but this is the path that they want us to be on. This is what the division, the hatred. I mean, pay attention just a little bit to the news and to politicians, and especially, you know, ultra progressive politicians. There's so much hate and division coming out of they want people fighting. Susie, in your experience, just talking about voters in general, because I agree with what Justin just said. You know, it used to be you could see somebody on TV, kind of like the cut of their jib. You know, if you had a chance to go to an event, they say all the right things, and you're like, oh, I like that guy, I'm voting for him.
Sure.
I feel like now more than ever, and it's still far from enough, but I feel like now more than ever, people are actually checking the records and they're saying, is this person really who they say they are?
Right.
Or there's a little more scrutiny on candidates. Do you feel that change happening in the voter base?
Somewhat.
Also?
Somewhat. I mean, we're all hyper politicized now. And that's because of the advent of social media. So everything is politicized and everyone is politicized. And so that has people paying a little bit closer attention. I mean, you're talking about a primary where you've got everybody that's competing being on the same side of the aisle. If people really want to make an informed decision when they vote, they have to do that research because it doesn't just go, oh, R, D, I'm going R, or I'm going D. They actually have to go, okay, wait, there's 3 R's. Which one do I want?
Yeah.
So it compels them to do that, which isn't a bad thing. The bad thing is there's so much misinformation out there. Not that it should invite government censorship, but just that there's so much you have to weed through it. You have to sift through the chaff and get to the heart of things.
Yeah, you have to find the outlets that you trust. And go to, you know, and don't just trust every ad or article that you see. So Justin, with everybody in agreement that this primary election, which is a week from tomorrow, is not only probably the biggest in Missouri history, but also, you know, so much is on the line, massively impactful. The people that you're talking to, do voters realize that? Because there's a voter turnout problem just in general. But for a primary election, you know, that's even, you're talking about typically, historically, even, you know, even less people participating. Do people that you're talking to realize that how important next Tuesday is? And do you think we're going to see a general election style turnout? Or is it going to be, these elections are going to be decided by, unfortunately, small percentage of the voters?
I think that we'll see the most engagement that we've had in a primary in a long time. It may not be to the level of like a general election, but I just had a conversation day before yesterday with these voters that absolutely are paying attention. And they all keep having the same question to me. Justin, what is going on? What is going on in Jefferson City that we are missing out and losing out to cities like Indianapolis and Nashville and Arkansas and Florida and Texas? They all want to know, why can these states pass legislation seemingly with the snap of a finger that we are kicking and screaming by our fingernails, even to do something very simple in a big red state?
Yeah, with a Republican supermajority.
Yes.
The Republican Party in Missouri realistically should not have any problems getting their agenda accomplished, and yet that's not reality.
But you have these candidates that are running as the true conservative, and people traditionally have been so busy running their lives, raising their children, and just putting food on a table with inflation up 22% that they look, they see the ads. And here's what the sad part is, and this is the sad truth and reality, and you're always going to get it from me. The candidates know it. They've had conversations with me face to face and say, it won't matter because I've got $3 million. Somebody told me that. It won't matter. I've got $3 million in the bank. And by the time my messaging overwhelms the voters, they don't have time to actually look and see anything. So they just buy it. Here's the difference. Yes, traditionally, that's exactly what has happened. That is exactly what has happened up until right now. But everything has started to change in the last 4 years, really since about 2020. A loss of institutional trust in all of our institutions, and now people don't believe anything.
Right.
And so that is a really big deal, because traditionally you raise all this money from huge donors. Donors pick and choose their candidates, the ones that are going to do what they want them to do, right? They pour money into those accounts, and then that's where you get all the advertising, and then you get these people, these candidates with a bought and paid for image, right? It's slick, it looks good, it looks conservative. I can go with this guy. And then you realize, what in the world's going on? Because they do a really good job, we've had this conversation, of using the Democrats in our state as a patsy, as the fall guy. And the Democrats willingly embrace that role because they're like, see, yeah, we're the minority party, but look at all we're doing. We defeated initiative petition. Wrong. They didn't defeat anything because they have no power other than what we give them. That's it.
It's ironic that you bring that up, because Susie and I were just talking off the air about political ads, and the traditionally and on paper, the influence of them is undeniable. But I don't know anybody that sees personally, and we were talking about this, I don't know anybody that sees a political ad and goes, that made up my mind. Like, I think the voters, hopefully now, as Justin just pointed out, hopefully now it's, you can't just buy an election, but as weird as it is to me, at least, they traditionally, obviously, it does work.
The only time I see it actually work is when it turns somebody off so bad. Like, it's so cheesy or so obnoxious that they're like, okay, that's it. I'm not voting for that guy. Not happening.
That's a good call. Good point.
So we only got a couple minutes left, Justin. And I guess if you want to put a positive message on the possible smaller voter turnout for this primary election, is that, a lot of people think that their vote doesn't matter. They're just one vote of millions or thousands or whatever it may be.
Oh my gosh.
Your vote has never had more weight and a more impactful election than it probably will a week from Tuesday.
You will never have as much of an impact in an election as August 6th. Your vote is gold, and it will make a difference, especially in a smaller turnout election. I can't emphasize enough how important next week is. And people get so desensitized to that because every election, but it's true, every election has continued to escalate in importance, and it's never been more true than right now. And especially this right here. I saw a meme, somebody put it out and went viral. If you know what your responsibility is, you have nothing to complain about if you don't vote August 6th. You get what you pay for. And this comes down. People have asked me, okay, so this is terrible. Okay, Justin, so how can we tell about these candidates? Look for the candidates that do and say things that don't benefit them directly, right? That's what you look. You look for authenticity and guys that make and gals that make decisions that don't benefit themselves. And then there's something legit there.
So we will pick up the conversation when Justin joins us again on Thursday afternoon. In the meantime, real quick, remind folks if they want to learn more about you and your campaign and all the things you stand for, how do they do it?
SparksForMissouri.com, Justin M. Sparks on X, and Justin Sparks, Twitter and all that.
Great stuff. That is Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks. Thank you to you. Thank you, Susie Moore from Red State, for all your help today. Thank you, producer Ethan, for the continued help here on the show. And we will be back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it right here for the O'Reilly Report next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
But I'm a creep.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.